Right friends, welcome back to newspaper editorials discussion. There are 7 articles in the Hindu today and some of them are very important and 1 or 2 articles are not that important, but I am going to cover all 7. The first one is in largesse we trust. What is meant by largesse? Largesse. Largesse means giving money generously. So, now loan waiver schemes are there. So, because of loan waiver to agricultural farmers, so this word is used largesse, and here before going ahead 2-3 things I would like to tell you. Priority sector lending guidelines are there because I am starting from the banks. Few things you should have idea before understanding this article. This article basically argues about this waiving of the farm loans is not the right thing. Agriculture has got several other issues to be solved. By 2022, we are aiming to double the farmers' income. So, there are several steps to be taken by the government. So, the immediate task is government should not resort to such type of steps. They are in fact counterproductive. It may lead to domino effect. Domino effect, what is the meaning? If one event triggers chain of events, if one event triggers a chain of events, that is known as a domino effect. Here you see in Uttar Pradesh, farm loan waiver took place. Now, other states also people may feel that it will be waived either today or tomorrow. Why do I pay? So, that type of human's reaction may come and this domino effect may take place. Not only that, there may be demands from other states also for waiver of the farm loans. So, this type of incidents are moral hazard, and the persons whoever paid already, they feel little bit of irritant, or you can say they become irritant because I already paid, but so and so person is getting the benefit because of government action. So, these type of things may crop up in the mind. So, that is why these are known as moral hazards, and agriculture no doubt must be taken care of, but there are several other aspects for looking at the agricultural distress, right. So, here priority sector lending is there from the banking perspective. Priority sector lending, total loans if you take, if 100 crores is the total loan, they have to give 18 crores to agriculture. So, 18% is the lending to agriculture mandated by the government, and out of this 18%, there are subgroups. One is a farm credit, other one is agriculture infrastructure, other one is ancillary activities. Now, the fundamental point is, if the government is going to waive off like this, then in future banks' non-performing assets in agriculture will increase. Intentionally farmers will stop paying back. Because of that reason, there is every possibility banks may shift their lending from farm credit to others within priority sector lending. So, this is the major problem. That is why I told you from the beginning. So, 18% is the limit. 18% includes farm credit, agriculture infrastructure, ancillary activities. Then the banks may have propensity to lend other activities, or you can say activities like agriculture infrastructure, ancillary activities, and their component of farm credit out of this 18% they may reduce. There is some limit of some 8% or so for marginal and small farmers, they cannot reduce below that, but beyond that they may increase the lending to these type of activities. That is one worry. Second worry is gross non-performing assets in the banking system may grow. Yesterday we discussed about this interest subsidy to crop loans. Farmer is getting 5% interest subsidy paid by the central government. That is one type of benefit government is giving, and I explained you domino effect. Domino effect means a situation in which one event causes a series of related events. The incident in Uttar Pradesh may in fact lead the farmers in other states not to pay back the farm debt, right. So, that is why he used the domino effect. Let us come back to the news report. Uttar Pradesh government decided to write off outstanding farmer loans of up to rupees 1 lakh. At the same time, gross non-performing assets to marginal farmers and small farmers, they were also waived off. And Madras High Court recently ordered the Tamil Nadu government to extend a similar farm loan waiver scheme for small farmers and marginal farmers. No doubt, farmers must be taken care of, but through this is probably not the right thing. Government can give lot many subsidies to the farmers, because Tanjavur Kaveri Delta is badly affected this year, and several farmers suicides are taking place in Kaveri Delta in Tamil Nadu. And marginal farmer, small farmer, yesterday I told you, farmer cultivating as owner or tenant agricultural land up to 2.5 acres. Similarly, small farmer I explained you, and farmers distress we discussed as a separate capsule during second week, and we raised around 14 points faced by agriculture. Small land holdings because of further bifurcation, because of the offsprings, because the children bifurcate the small land holding, they are becoming further small. Green revolution of 1960s and 70s benefited only few crops and at the same time in few areas. And another important aspect is more and more lands are being cultivated by tenant farmers, and institutional mechanism of granting loans to tenant farmers is not there. If at all it is there, it is not enforced properly. Then the next point is farmers are still dependent on water guzzling crops like rice, sugarcane, and even in rice also the most water effective system is Shri, that is system of rice intensification, and this is not percolated down the areas. The next point is protected irrigation is there only for 40% of the areas, 60% are rain dependent. Even in protected irrigated areas also like Kaveri Delta, they are facing so many problems this year. And the development of rain dependent agriculture and seeds of drought resistant variety is the need of the hour, but our research has not gone in that direction, and farmer is being exploited, and tomatoes they are throwing on the roads, it is a common sight. And youth are not interested in taking up agriculture nowadays, and Deccan areas of Maharashtra, Telangana in fact accounted for several suicides because of cultivation of cotton crop. Then new economic policy, in fact agriculture not received desired required attention. Then poor quality of seeds, subsistence nature of agriculture, and mechanization of agriculture has also not taken roots on the expected lines, and these are the reasons for agriculture distress, and government must look at all these problems if at all government's intention of doubling the farmers' income is to be realized. And what are the consequences of farm loan waivers? So, let us come to the present discussion. Here the decision of Madras High Court. Madras High Court stated that farm loans are to be waived, but the decision of Madras High Court is clearly in the domain of executive. It is not the job of judiciary. Nowadays, judicial overreach is increasing, or you can say the state is failing. Any of them, at least one of them is correct. Either it is the case of judicial overreach or the failure of the state. Whatever you understand, but one of them is correct. Then second one is, this can be cited in other courts to seek loan waivers. In other courts, people may look at it as a precedent. Then the decision of Uttar Pradesh may have domino effect. Similar demands may crop up in other states. And in 2016, we had a good monsoon after 2 years of drought. and bumper output is expected. And let me tell you, during 2013-14, we got record output of food grains at 265 million tons. 2013-14, we got record output of food grains at 265 million tons. Subsequently, they came down to 250 to 253, something like that. But 2016-17, we expect record food grain production somewhere crossing to 65, and wheat production is expected to be record this year. And the next one is writing off of loans as a blanket policy creates a moral hazard for borrowers, and who will have no incentive to stick to credit discipline. Here, whoever the persons sticking to the credit discipline, they will be at the disadvantageous position, and frequent write-offs will prod banks to invest in alternative mechanisms. And here I mentioned Rural Infrastructure Development Fund. This, please understand from exam perspective, this Rural Infrastructure Development Fund is maintained by NABARD. And if any shortfall is there in the priority sector lending by banks, then banks have to deposit the shortfall with Rural Infrastructure Development Fund, which is maintained by NABARD. And farmers may be forced to go once again into the clutches of money lenders if this happens. So, loan waivers definitely is not the solution, and agriculture problems are entirely different. Government through loan waivers cannot solve the problem of agriculture. There is a serious agrarian distress in the country, and government has to concentrate more on that to bring farmers out of the distress. Then second point, never ending tragedy. This is the tragedy of Syria. Here, two aspects are there. Syrian crisis is one aspect, chemical weapons is second aspect. You have to look at this article from two perspectives. One is the Syria crisis, second one is the chemical weapons which are prohibited. And let us look at Syria crisis. We deliberated this during first week, and Arab Spring was the origin. In fact, Arab Spring, in fact in Tunisia it started. Basically, Arab Spring was a revolutionary wave of violent as well as non-violent demonstrations. In fact, they started for the first time in Tunisia on 17th December 2010, and except Tunisia, no other country could establish order till date. Only, or you can say, this Arab Spring is revolutionary protests, silent protests, and the protests took different forms. And after the Arab Spring, only Tunisia could get democratic form of governance, and almost all the countries or some of the countries are thrown into civil war, and some of the countries have switched over to more and more authoritarian regime. In fact, nothing much happened after Arab Spring. In fact, civilians are thrown into much worst conditions after Arab Spring. That is the ground reality in the countries affected by this Arab Spring. And some of the countries are becoming more and more authoritarian, and some of the countries are under civil war, just like Yemen, Syria, Iraq, Libya. So, all these countries are under civil war. So, please understand, this Arab Spring is basically revolutionary wave of violent as well as non-violent protests against the governments or authoritarian governments in Arab countries. And Syria, please look into this. Yesterday I told you about geographical boundaries and main reasons for Arab Spring. I have given here, please go through them. The main reason is authoritarian regimes in most of the Arab countries and human rights violation with little freedom in several countries. These are the main reasons for Arab Spring, and the advent of powerful social media led to protests on mass scale and political corruption in some of the countries, unemployment, sectarian violence between Sunnis and Shias. So, these are the reasons for Arab Spring. And Syria crisis, it all started with some protesters writing some slogans on the walls in a town called Dera. In a town called Dera, some slogans were written, revolutionary slogans were written. The subsequent developments led to Syria crisis, and in March 2011, some teenagers were arrested when they painted some revolutionary slogans. Subsequently, protesters took to the streets and police opened fire, killing several people, and more street protests followed, and government used more force to control them, and rebel brigades were formed, and overall the sectarian groups in Arab countries further precipitated the situation. Because of the reason, the government is led by Shia community, Shia Alawite sect, and predominant population is a Sunni in Syria. So this led to the sectarian divide, right? So here several splinter groups were formed. One Al-Nusra Front, Free Syrian Army, like that, and the most dreaded one is Islamic State. Now it is called Islamic State. In those days, Islamic State of Iraq and Syria. Now it is Islamic State, and several splinter groups were formed, and ultimately it led to three groups. One is predominantly supported by Shia countries, because Bashar al-Assad belongs to Shia Alawite sect. Bashar al-Assad belongs to Shia Alawite sect. So it is supported predominantly by Shia countries like Iran, and at the same time latent entrant is this Vladimir Putin of Russia. So Russia is supporting Syrian government. And the second group basically Saudi Arabia, because it is a Sunni group. So rebel groups are basically belongs to Sunni sect, and they are supported by Western countries and Saudi Arabia and other Sunni group of countries. So this is a second group. The first group is basically Shia led, second group is Sunni led, third group is Islamic State. Islamic State is with the radical ideas. They occupied swaths of land of Syria and adjoining Iraq. So three groups are there predominantly, and ultimately human beings are suffering like anything. More than 4 lakh people lost their lives in the civil war in Syria, and millions of people are on the roads. So where the Syria crisis is heading for? Go through these points. Most important aspect is Syria is another monumental failure of world community as a whole, and it also raises pertinent doubt whether United Nations is existing or not. What is the role of United Nations? Why United Nations is sitting silent? Right? So the crisis here is between Sunni group of countries, Shia group of countries, Islamic State. They divided on sectarian lines. Ultimately, one group is against other group. Ultimately, human beings are suffered like anything, and the population reduced drastically. The displaced population increased drastically. 4 lakh people lost their lives. So this is the fate of Syria now. Right, first part is over. Second part is chemical weapons. The unfortunate aspect is chemical weapons are being used in the Syria civil war number of times by both the government and opposition also. And Syrian and these chemical weapons comes in the category of weapons of mass destruction. We discussed yesterday nuclear weapons, biological weapons, radiological weapons, now chemical weapons. In fact, a few years ago, there were news reports that sarin was used. And now some of the countries have got chemical weapons. One example is North Korea, and the other example is Syria. So these chemical weapons are 3 different types: blister agents, blood agents, nerve agents. And I have given how the persons will die with these chemical weapons. And some chemical weapons, if something is rubbed on the surface of the skin, then the person will die within few minutes. So these are chemical weapons, and convention is there, chemical weapons convention. So it is strictly prohibited, and the convention says we have to destroy all chemical weapons under international verification. Right. But what is the ground reality? We discussed about the Syria crisis briefly. If you want more, please listen to that capsule which is available during first week of 2017. And now look at the points. In 2013, Syrian attack in a Damascus suburb killed hundreds of people, and it was alleged that the government was responsible for that, and USA and Russia at that time agreed to remove all the chemical weapons from Syria, and accordingly 1300 tons of chemical weapons were shipped out of Syria and destroyed. But now it is not clear how again chemical attack took place after several years. Not only after several years, in between also these chemical attacks are taking place. So, the need of the hour is that the international community must act immediately, right. Lead article of today, a New Delhi chapter for Sheikh Hasina, right. So, Bangladesh issue, yesterday we discussed some of the aspects, today I put forth some of the insights, and Bangladesh, it has got ties with India because of historical reasons, because India is associated with Bangladesh Liberation War of 1971, that is first link. Second one is official language is Bengali, and their national anthem was written by Rabindranath Tagore. So, there are several links, and mangrove forest Sundarbans. Sundarbans is situated in both Bangladesh and India. So, these things do not forget, and it has got fertile alluvial plains created by Padma, Meghna and Jamuna rivers. So, this is all about the People's Republic of Bangladesh. Sheikh Hasina is the Prime Minister. She is expected to India, and here yesterday we discussed landmark achievement after the present government came to power is with regard to these enclaves. I explained you yesterday, these are the Bangladeshi enclaves prior to that, and these are merged with India, and these enclaves, these are Indian enclaves in Bangladeshi land, and they are merged with Bangladesh. So, this enclaves issue was solved, it was the major issue. Second issue, as a treaty of friendship, Bangladesh India Friendship Power Company was formed, and here 1320 megawatt coal based power plant is going to come up, but there are environmental issues. It is close to Sundarbans, environmentalists are expressing fears. Then I told you yesterday, Agartala Akhaura rail link to connect northeast. Akhaura is in Bangladesh, Agartala all of you are familiar, and Akhaura Agartala rail link, that is 15 kilometers, that will be built at India's cost. Then next one is this extension of rail line from Agartala to Sabroom. Sabroom is the border town of India, and subsequently we can go up to Chittagong by road, or in future the train line can be extended to Chittagong. The basic idea is Chittagong river is to be, Chittagong port is to be accessed, and at the same time please do not forget Feni river. This Feni river is border between here Bangladesh and India. So, these are all positive developments, and two prominent leaders yesterday I told you during the formation of Bangladesh, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman and Ziaur Rahman, and now Sheikh Mujibur Rahman's daughter, Sheikh Hasina is the present Prime Minister, and Ziaur Rahman wife is the opposition leader. And here I would like to spend 1 minute. There is a feeling in Bangladesh, or you can say there is a feeling in Bangladesh Nationalist Party, which is the opposition party, that unnecessarily, or you can say Sheikh Hasina, the present Prime Minister, is too much favorable to India, and she is not able to extract much from India. That is the feeling of Bangladesh Nationalist Party. And if you look further, India Bangladesh in recent times, I have listed out here during the last 5 years, trade between two countries have grown by more than 17% to reach $7 billion in 2015-16, and India's exports are around $5.5 billion. Then 4 border hats were established. You may have a doubt what is meant by border hat. These are the border hats. The meaning of a border hat is border markets. Basically, these are informal markets at the border, and they are restricted to certain value items, and they are restricted to local produce in those areas. So, to facilitate the sale of local produce, these border hats concept came into picture, and we established 4 border hats, and there are delays in the operationalization of 4 more border hats in Meghalaya. And another problem between India and Bangladesh is cattle smuggling. This cattle smuggling takes place between India and Bangladesh. Basically, it takes place along South Bengal frontier, and it got reduced. But at the same time, the worrying factor is Bangladeshi civilians, total 77 were killed by the PSF, and that is the worry for Bangladesh. And good cooperation with regard to action on terrorists by both India and Bangladesh, and altogether India provides Bangladesh with 2600 megawatt of power, and in some news report yesterday I have taken that was 500 megawatt. So, please correct this, 2600 megawatt of power is being provided by India to Bangladesh. So, these are the aspects if you look at India Bangladesh in recent times. Now, the final print, I have taken 3 issues which are required to be solved. The first and the foremost issue is the defense budget of Bangladesh is just $3 billion. Please do not forget, our defense budget is $50 billion. The Bangladesh budget is $3 billion. China's budget is maybe around 150 or 140 billion dollars. America's is around $600 billion. So, here Bangladesh, its budget is just $3 billion. It is dependent on China for its military hardware, and recently it procured 2 submarines from Beijing, and subsequently Sheikh Hasina had made a statement that no country would now dare to attack Bangladesh. So, the biggest worry is Bangladesh is dependent on China for their defense hardware, and recently it procured 2 submarines from China. So, that is the biggest worry for India. Now, India may announce a line of credit of $500 million for purchase of defense equipment, but that is not much in comparison to the economic might of China. So, the biggest worry is it is dependent on China for its defense needs, and this is the cause of concern for India. Then second issue is the opposition Bangladesh Nationalist Party feels that Bangladesh is in fact surrendering sovereignty, or you can say genuflecting before India. What is the meaning of genuflecting? When we go to the temple, what we do? We normally go and pray, and normally we bend with namaskar. So, this is genuflecting. So, Bangladesh opposition feels that the sovereignty is being surrendered to India, and Bangladesh is too much genuflecting before India. So, in fact, if the Prime Minister goes back to Bangladesh without much result, then Bangladeshi people generally will feel that India is benefiting more because of Bangladesh inaction, or you can say Bangladesh is genuflecting more in front of India, surrendering its sovereignty. So, with regard to defense or whatever the matter, Bangladesh, any decision is taken by the Prime Minister, it will be seen by the opposition in suspicion in Bangladesh and other circles. Then third most important issue is Teesta river water. This is not settled, and West Bengal is opposing Teesta river water deal, probably no breakthrough this time also. So, this is the basic issue between India and Bangladesh. In a nutshell, two important issues. Bangladesh is dependent more on China for their defense needs. Second one is Teesta River water deal. So, these two things in fact are the cause of worry between India and Bangladesh. Painting it all black, this is not much, it has got not much importance. I have gone through this article, it gave only statistical figures. I listed all the statistical figures. His argument is people are feeling that lot of black money was available in the hands of the people at the time of demonetization, but he says that not much cash is black money. So, go through this, he is coming up with various figures, the total value of demonetized notes, Indians hold this much cash, deposited this much, companies require this much cash. So, these things are only for statistical importance, go through them, nothing much came out of this article. Then black money, he argues that can be in the form of real estate, maybe in the form of acquiring land, in the form of acquiring diamonds, in the form of acquiring gold. So, in the black money can only be much less in the form of cash. That is his argument. Absolutely correct. Black money normally in our country is in the form of various assets, maybe within our country, maybe abroad, but they are in the form of various assets with showing much lesser than the actual value, right. Then the next point is raring to leave. Here the article is about Gibraltar, and please look into this. I told you last week, Strait of Hormuz, this is one important strait. What is the meaning of strait? Strait means small water body whose width is much less and it connects two larger seas or oceans. When the narrow water body connects two larger seas or oceans, it is known as strait. And there are some important straits in the world which are important from commercial considerations also. This Strait of Hormuz is very important because lot of oil flows from Saudi Arabia towards the Arabian Sea and beyond. So, this is Strait of Hormuz. Then Bab el Mandab, this is very important route to go to European countries through Mediterranean Sea and Red Sea route. So, this is Bab el Mandab. Then Malacca Strait, this is very important. Most of the ships towards East Asia, Southeast Asia, they travel through Malacca Strait and goes towards South China Sea. That is another reason why South China Sea is so contentious, because lot of seaborne traffic towards East Asia, towards Southeast Asia moves through South China Sea through Malacca Strait. Please do not forget, Malacca Strait is between Indonesia and Malaysia. And Bering Strait, which connects Pacific with the Arctic Ocean. So, we discussed about some straits, and now let us come to Strait of Gibraltar. This is Strait of Gibraltar. This connects this side Atlantic, this side Mediterranean, this side Atlantic, this side Mediterranean, and the width is quite less here, and this is important strait and from commercial considerations also. So, this is a Strait of Gibraltar which connects Atlantic with the Mediterranean, and one side you see this is Africa, this side it is Europe, and the main country here is Spain. But you see below Spain, this small area abutting this Gibraltar Strait, that is known as Gibraltar. So, this Gibraltar area belongs to United Kingdom, which is known as British Overseas Territory. This Gibraltar has got population of around 30,000 and it is famous for tourism, and this Gibraltar territory belongs to United Kingdom. It is one of the 14 British Overseas Territories. Have you got the point? So, the issue is with regard to Gibraltar. So, as United Kingdom is exiting from European Union, now the question is with regard to various regions. One is Gibraltar, the other one last week we discussed Scotland, other one is Northern Ireland. So, these regions are asking for independence. In fact, Scotland is going for referendum. So, Gibraltar case is entirely different. Gibraltar case is entirely different, and it is having boundary only with Spain, only land boundary with Spain, and other side it is a strait. So, Gibraltar case is entirely different. So, now this article talks about what will happen to Gibraltar. It has got land boundary with Spain only, and here if you see, Gibraltar is the British overseas territory ceded to Britain in 1713. It is the British overseas territory. The population is just 30,000. It is situated at one of the most important locations on the globe, and it has got land boundary only with Spain, and it is one among the 14 British overseas territories across the globe. It is part of European single market. So, what are the primary traits of this European Union? One is a single market, the other one is customs union. So, here association of countries trading with each other without restrictions or tariffs. They in fact act as one single country only. So, that is a single market. Other one is customs union. Here abolish restrictions on mutual trade, common system of tariffs and import quotas. So, this is the trait of customs union. So, the issue of Gibraltar now, it is part of single market, but not part of customs union, and previous two referendums voted overwhelmingly to stay with part of United Kingdom, and several people belongs to Spain work in Gibraltar, and the issues pertaining to Northern Ireland, Scotland, Gibraltar will come to the forefront in the years to come. So, this is the issue of Gibraltar, just like Scotland. With the imminent exit of United Kingdom, what will happen to these regions, and in future we will have lot many articles on that. Then AIDS free by 2030, India included. Here please go through this. This is some historical perspective I have written here. This is with regard to the National AIDS Control Program. Initially, National AIDS Control Program was supported by the international organizations. Now, National AIDS Control Program is integrated into the primary health care, or you can say this is initially it was allocated differently, or you can say it was treated as independent, and lot of international funding came initially, and now this international funding reduced. So, this article says that in India, integration of HIV AIDS interventions and primary health care have taken place from 2010 onwards, and India pledged to United Nations General Assembly that it will end HIV AIDS as a public health threat in the next 5 years. So, 2/3 of the budget at present is provided by the government of India. So, here it is tracking what are the historical events right from 2000 right up to 2016, and here it is suggesting three things. One is India's public health expenditure must be increased. It is one of the lowest in the world. In fact, national health policy says 2.5%, but it must go up to 5% of GDP. Second point is, many people suffering from HIV AIDS in Asia are not aware about they carrying the disease. So, several people unknowingly carry the disease. That is the biggest worry for Indian government, and certain degree of AIDS exceptionalism must be maintained instead of integrating with the primary health care. So, here the tackling of the disease must be kept somewhat independently, because government recently merged it. You see, in India, integration of HIV AIDS interventions and primary health care took place from 2010 onwards, but the authors feel that this should be separated, certain degree of exceptionalism must be maintained, right. So, please go through these points. Then the last one, for 2-3 minutes I would like to spend on this. For the love of Pluto, here I would like to tell you about Pluto. Please look into the solar system. We have 8 planets, all of you are familiar, starting from Mercury right up to Neptune. There are 8 planets, and here Earth is here, this is the 3rd planet. And in the year 2006, prior to 2006, there were 9 planets in the solar system, but in the year 2006, this Pluto was de-recognized as a planet. Its status as a planet has gone away. What are the reasons? Here you see International Astronomical Union, this is based in Paris, it looks at the issues. International Astronomical Union based in Paris looks at the issues. It de-recognized Pluto as planet in 2006. What is the reason for it? International Astronomical Union laid down 3 conditions for qualifying as a planet. 3 conditions. First condition is it must be round, first condition. Second condition is it must orbit the sun, it should orbit around sun. These 2 conditions are met for Pluto, but the third condition is not met. Third condition is it must clear its surroundings. It must clear its surroundings. It has not met. Why? The satellites, the condition, third condition, please read here. The satellites must orbit in a clear path. The satellites for Pluto must orbit in a clear path. And the second point is, you can say it must clear its surroundings, but around its surroundings lot many things are there which are revolving in a random way. So, there is no specific pattern, and in the names of the astronomers, so this astrologers, this International Astronomical Union, this International Astronomical Union stated that as Pluto is not qualifying the third condition, it was de-recognized. So, Pluto is no more a planet from 2006, and now the issue is NASA launched New Horizons program. NASA's New Horizons program is probing Pluto, and it became the first, that is New Horizons program became the first to pass within 8,000 miles and sent back the first close-up images of Pluto. And now one scientist argues that the Pluto must be recognized once again as a planet. So, the last condition de-recognized Pluto because of several asteroids and planets much bigger than Pluto were found in its orbital neighborhood, or you can say it is not able to clear its neighborhood, right. So, the article is about Pluto, and the present problem is Johns Hopkins University scientist at a scientific conference argued that the definition of what constitutes a planet must be changed. He vigorously opposed Pluto's demotion a decade ago, but at present there is no plan by International Astronomical Union, right. So, please understand why the Pluto was de-recognized as planet in 2006. Right, because it is not able to satisfy the third condition, because several asteroids and planets, some bigger than Pluto, were found near its neighborhood. That is why it was not categorized. Right, friends, we came to the end of this editorial discussion. So, have a nice day. Please do join for other discussions. So, thank you.